And let's start with this extraordinary young woman who has clearly achieved so much in her young life. Charlotte Owen, who's 30, nominated to the Lords in Johnson's resignation honours list and took up her seat yesterday. She will now be known as Baroness Owen of Alderley Edge. And of course she'll sit as a Conservative. Extraordinary. So young, and she's achieved so much. Let's just read her biography for you in case you're sitting there thinking, how can I get into the House of Lords? Well, she graduated at the University of York in 2015 with a degree in politics and international relations. She was a parliamentary assistant to the Conservative MPs Alex Sharma, of course Boris Johnson. Don't quite know how long she was with Boris Johnson, but she was with him for a little period, and Sir Jake Berry from 2017 until 2021. She worked as an advisor to Johnson during her time as Prime Minister, and his successor Liz Truss and Chris Heaton Harris. She's accused of exaggerating her experience a little bit by saying that she served as an intern for George Osborne for a month in 2011. People are slightly bewildered about her time in Number 10 and how it is that she so successfully found herself on that list alongside people like Sean Bailey. Remember Sean Bailey? He was partying in Conservative Central Office, you might remember, and he had that unsuccessful bid against Sadiq Khan last time round. He also comes into the House of Lords. So Charlotte Owen is going to now be making our laws. No one can understand how she got there. Do you remember? Let's just go back a few years. When Boris Johnson was prosecuting this argument, it was a passionate argument that he was making, that we needed to get out of the European Union because it was unaccountable. Well, he's gone one further because it now looks like he's stuffing the House of Lords with people to make laws on behalf of us, and no one has a clue why this young woman is in the House of Lords. James in High Wycombe.
Yeah, hi David, nice to speak with you.
And you.
I wanted to say to you that we've already had one revolution in recently, Brexit. And I think it's important that we, for the next 10 years, that we don't have another revolution. We don't need to change the House of Lords. I think there's a lot of good people there who do a lot of good work, people who've been politicians, who are wise and have the interests of the country at heart. And many times they've stopped the House of Commons putting through certain bills or certain parts of bills that have been good for the country. So they've done some good for the country. And so I'm not in favour of big changes to the House of Lords. I think we've had enough changes with Brexit for a start. And then I also wanted to say that this problem has arisen because of Boris Johnson. I'm surprised that Rishi Sunak and the establishment didn't get together and stop this. They could have stopped these people going to the House of Lords. They could have said, this isn't on. He's not going to, a failed MP is not going to be allowed, or a failed Prime Minister is not going to be allowed to make these appointments. They could have stopped it. I'm really surprised that they didn't.
Our system, because we haven't got a written constitution, our system really depends on good faith.
Right.
It depends on that very old-fashioned idea. It's a little bit chauvinistic in a way, of being a gentleman. This idea that people of good faith kind of moderate the system, and there's a sort of we change things in an evolutionary way. What happens, and it's a big challenge to democracies, we've seen the problems in Israel overnight. There have been significant problems in the American system, and and now we've got these problems here in the UK, when it feels like there are people of bad faith at the highest levels of our country. And I think when you ask, why wasn't this stopped? It goes to that question that when you have a system that depends on cronyism, good people who should say something say nothing.
Following on from your previous caller, my argument is that the whole system really is wrong. We need a new democracy, a new constitution. I think we should have first proportional representation for the House of Commons. The thing that really sticks in my craw about the House of Lords is the fact it's cronyism, isn't it? And you know these guys are just put in there because they've managed to sort of suck up to the person who's giving out the awards.
Crawl up the greasy bowl.
Well, it's true, and let's face it. I mean, we've got the cameras in the House of Commons. The whole veneer of honourable gentlemen has been stripped away now. Going on from that, we know there's people. We've got Fabricant, we've got Dorries, we've got that idiot Gullis. Fortunately, they're all on the Conservative side at the moment. And then you have, in contrast, you've got Chris Bryan. I mean, what a gentleman, you know. I want MPs in there who are there because they've got something to offer. They want to do something for their country. It's not like, I'm a millionaire, I don't need to go to work anymore. What shall I do for a hobby? Get out from the wife's feet. I know, I'll be Prime Minister. It's absolute farce. As I say, the whole system has got to be dismantled. I'd move the House of Commons out of London. I'd stick it in somewhere like Warwickshire, nice and central. Get away from the Westminster bubble that everybody talks about.
I'm a younger guy, and I think we do need younger people in politics, especially the Lords, because as a younger guy myself, I don't see any representation for people my age group in politics, especially in my area. And it just disenfranchises young people when their issues aren't being talked about. And we've got a problem at the moment, I think, of young people not really getting involved in society as much as people may used to have. And I think getting younger people into politics could be a good way of getting young people and like young adults more involved.
Can you only be represented by somebody who is like you in the House of Commons or Lords?
No, I don't think so. But I would say that the current MPs at the moment from all parties aren't exactly very interested in young people. A lot of the policies that we see, a lot of the conversations are all about people older. They're not really targeted at age group. So it would be nice sometimes to see people who had like a direct experience of being a young person in today's age, especially with a lot of issues. Think about technology, social media, that a lot of people, no offence to the older age group, I'm not generalising, but we see sometimes in debates, especially in the US, people who are talking about issues that they have no idea about, that they've never experienced. So there's many issues now that affect only young people, such as the social media.
But you don't have to have experienced something. I mean, experience brings certain knowledge with it, of course, experience of a thing. But you can be helpful to somebody who's had a difficult experience without, as an MP, say, without having had that experience yourself.
Oh, no, definitely. I do agree with that. I mean, I think it helps. But if maybe then it could be said that we could do with slightly more engagement for younger people into politics with current MPs. But if we could kind of move the system towards, okay, well, let's get the experienced people in who may have had business experience, but let's get some young people in as well in the communities, and let's develop communities that are suited for everyone. I mean, I think if we could just get young people more engaged, because a lot of my mates my age don't even know what an MP is. They don't even know that we have local councils. I was trying to tell my mate...
They don't know what an
22.
MP is?
No, they don't. So my friend's 22. He's a really successful software developer.
How is that possible?
Well, we don't get any education, Sheila. I mean, I've just finished, so I'm 18, I've just finished my A-levels. And we get no education at all in politics, in government, in finance, our economics, nothing.
What I found up about was, I don't know if you've heard of the Youth Parliament.
I have.
Have you seen them actually sitting in the House of Commons?
Not for years. I did years ago, but are they good?
Yeah. Oh, they are really good. I mean,
are they better than the ones we've got?
Many of them are. Many of them are. Seriously, I would recommend anybody who hasn't seen it, look it up on YouTube. There are some great debates going on between these people. There's passion, there's knowledge, there's 17 years old is the maximum, and yet they are so much better than the older members of the House of Commons. And quite honestly, some of the very older members, shall we say the more mature members, I think they need to be retired off.
Well, but plenty of them don't, you know?
Yeah, but you've got to be realistic about it. If somebody is no longer suitable, then you can't just rely on somebody else saying to them, you shouldn't be here anymore. There needs to be a way of getting them out when they're no longer fit for purpose.
Typically, what does your average 13-year-old really know?
Well, at 13, I certainly would have been capable of doing those things. I was in a leadership role from about 12 years old.
Go on, describe that to me.
Well, I joined the Scouts, and most of the older boys had left, and at 12 years old, I was in charge of 6 other boys. Took them away on camps, took them away on hikes.
Yeah, that's responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah. And
it's not knowledge, though, is it? It's not life knowledge.
I think it was William Pitt the Younger that said, my lack of experience is a problem I'm solving with each passing day.
That's a lovely quote. Because he was the youngest Prime Minister, the youngest for years. He was the youngest to go in there, yeah. And of course, the Queen was made Queen she became Queen at 25.
26.
Yeah, 25, 26.
Yeah. I do not think necessarily age should be a bar. It should, however, be, is this a fit and proper person?
And when we inevitably change the House of Lords, would you go for fully elected? My feeling is partly elected.
I've got to be honest, my view is it needs to be trimmed down a bit, say to around 300, 350. I would prefer fully elected, but equally I'm quite happy to see some people be placed there because of particular experience.
I mean, it normally screams out at you, doesn't it? I can think of people that I've come across over the years as a reporter. I can think of individual friends of mine who are so deeply knowledgeable about particular subjects and have great character traits to back it all up as well, that I would cheer to the rafters if they were in the House of Lords or the House of Commons, you know. But that point that Professor Meg Russell made about some people who would never stand for election, I don't think we want to lose them in our legislature.
No. I mean, if there is a reasonable purpose, then yeah. I'm sort of kind of thinking that perhaps they could be selected by a political party as one of the ones that they would put forward to go in there, but I don't know how that would work in practice.